Have you ever wondered why one Bitcoin can be worth tens of thousands of dollars? Even though it's just code, it's not backed by gold, not controlled by any government, and yet it's shaking the foundations of global finance. Today, we'll dive deep into what Bitcoin really is, why it matters, how it works, and what its future may look like. Welcome to Zukkun Knows. 1. Money's flaws. Let's start with money itself. Most people use it every day, but never stop to think about what it really is. Modern money, called fiat currency, is issued by governments and controlled by central banks. They can print as much as they want, whenever they want, and they do. The result? Inflation. Over time, your money loses value. In 1971, $100 could buy a month of groceries. Today, maybe a week's worth. This silent theft is baked into the system. Banks act as middlemen for everything: saving, lending, transferring. They charge fees, freeze accounts, and decide who gets access. If a bank or government doesn't like what you're doing, they can cut you off from your money. That's the foundation Bitcoin challenges. 2. The origin of Bitcoin. In 2008, as the world was grappling with the global financial crisis, a 9-page white paper appeared on an online mailing list. Its author? Satoshi Nakamoto, a name that remains a mystery to this day. The paper proposed a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, Bitcoin. No banks, no governments, just math and code. The idea was simple but revolutionary. What if we could have money that no one controls, that anyone can use, and that obeys rules written in software, not policy? On January 3, 2009, the first Bitcoin block, called the Genesis block, was mined. Embedded in it was a message: The Times, March 1, 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. A silent protest, a signal that Bitcoin was built as an answer to corruption and monetary manipulation. 3. How it works. Bitcoin is not a company or app, it's a network. Thousands of computers around the world, called nodes, run the Bitcoin software and maintain a shared database called the blockchain. This blockchain is a public ledger of every single transaction ever made with Bitcoin. Every 10 minutes, new transactions are bundled into a block. These blocks are added to the chain through a process called mining, which involves solving complex mathematical puzzles. The first miner to solve the puzzle adds the block and earns newly created Bitcoins as a reward. This process secures the network and keeps it decentralized. No one can change the ledger unless they control over 50% of the entire network's computing power, which is nearly impossible. 4-point digital scarcity. What makes Bitcoin truly revolutionary is digital scarcity. In the physical world, gold is valuable because it's rare. Bitcoin is the first time something purely digital has the same property. The Bitcoin code guarantees that there will only ever be 21 million coins, no more. That number is hard-coded. It doesn't matter what happens. No one can change it without near universal agreement across the network. New Bitcoins are released on a fixed schedule, and every 4 years the amount created is cut in half, a process called the halving. This creates a predictable supply curve and stands in sharp contrast to fiat currencies, which have unlimited supply and political manipulation. People trust Bitcoin because its rules are transparent, consistent, and immune to human interference. 5. Why people trust. Trust is everything in money. With fiat, we trust that governments won't print too much, but history shows they always do. With Bitcoin, trust is placed in code, open source, reviewed by thousands, and running on a global network of independent participants. Bitcoin is censorship resistant. No one can block a transaction. No one can seize your funds without access to your private key. And Bitcoin is borderless. It works the same whether you're in Tokyo, New York, or Lagos. There's no CEO, no office, no server to shut down. That resilience is why people in Argentina, Turkey, Nigeria, and even the US are turning to Bitcoin. They don't trust their banks, but they trust a system that no one can rig. 6. Bitcoin versus banks. Imagine sending $10,000 overseas. Through banks, it might take 3 days, cost $150 in fees, and require piles of paperwork. With Bitcoin, It settled in under an hour. For less than a few bucks, anytime, anywhere. Bitcoin operates 24/7. Banks have business hours. Bitcoin doesn't care who you are. Banks discriminate. Bitcoin has no borders. Banks are bound by nations. In a world of increasing financial surveillance, Bitcoin offers privacy, sovereignty, and speed. It's like comparing email to postal mail. One is fast, global, and unstoppable. The other is slow, permissioned, and fragile. 7. Criticism and misunderstandings. Of course, Bitcoin isn't perfect. Critics point to its volatility. Yes, its price moves sharply, but so did the internet in the 1990s. Adoption takes time. Others say it's used for crime. So is cash. In fact, Bitcoin is less anonymous than people think. Every transaction is public. Environmental concerns? Bitcoin does use energy, but it incentivizes renewable power and brings economic activity to remote regions. And then there's the claim that it has no intrinsic value. But what's the intrinsic value of the dollar? Or gold? Value is a story we agree on, and more people are agreeing that Bitcoin is a better story. 8. Bitcoin Empower. Bitcoin shifts power. In authoritarian regimes, people use it to escape capital controls. In hyperinflationary economies, it preserves purchasing power. For the unbanked, it offers access to global finance with just a phone. Bitcoin is a lifeline in crisis zones, a tool for protest movements, and a symbol of financial freedom. It empowers individuals over institutions. You don't need ID to own Bitcoin. You just need a private key. You don't need permission to send it, just a connection. It's money designed for people, not for banks. 9. The quantum threat. But what about the future? Quantum computers, still in their early stages, could one day pose a serious threat to Bitcoin's cryptographic security. That would mean in theory that someone could forge transactions or steal coins. The fix? A hard fork. But here's the problem. In Bitcoin, a hard fork creates a new coin, a clone with a different name. Think Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin. They're forks. They wear Bitcoin's skin, but they're not Bitcoin. The original chain, the one called BTC, would remain vulnerable, and Bitcoin can't easily upgrade. It would require near total agreement. If that doesn't happen, Bitcoin may be stuck, unable to respond. And in money, perception is everything. If trust is lost, so is value. 10. The bigger picture. Bitcoin is not just digital cash, it's a revolution, a peaceful global protest against broken financial systems. It asks, why should banks decide who gets to send money? Why should governments decide how much your money's worth? Why can't money be neutral, transparent, and free? Bitcoin may not be perfect, but it's a mirror. It reflects the flaws in the systems we've accepted for too long, and it offers a new path, one that doesn't require permission, one that belongs to no one and everyone. Bitcoin doesn't ask for your trust. It earns it, block by block. If that changed how you see money, subscribe to Zukkun Knows for more insights that challenge everything you thought you knew.